What's up, you guys? I'm Charmx. Today I'm going to be reacting to Film Theory Joker is the Hero of Gotham, Batman the Dark Knight by the Film Theorists. Now, I was not expecting a Dark Knight video to be released. I was kind of expecting the Joker from, like, the Joker that just came out, that movie, which I saw that movie. It's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. But anyway, total side note, I guess today we're going to be looking at Joker from the Dark Knight, and the Joker from the Dark Knight is apparently the hero. Now, I don't know about you, but I love the Joker from the Dark Knight, but I can tell you, he ain't a hero. So, I don't know, it's gonna be interesting to see Matt's perspective on this. But anyway, with that being said, the original link's in the description, and let's begin.
Well, the rest of the world's busy talking about Joaquin Phoenix's new Joker. Well, we've already done that one twice. So instead, I'm going back to revisit the...
I guess that's kind of true. Yeah, I've done a couple of Joker videos.
Dark Knight, and you know what? It is a miracle that nobody in Gotham figures out the Bruce Wayne Batman connection. I mean, think about it. Coleman Reese, aka Bruce Wayne's accountant, goes on live TV saying that he's gonna reveal Batman's identity. I mean, who else is he exposing here, people? The Wayne Enterprises HR rep? Looks like Gotham's greatest villain isn't the Joker, it's basic critical thinking.
I never thought of that before. Oh, don't tell me you ruined this movie for me, Matt. This is one of my favorite movies, Matt. How could you do this? That's a new intro.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that, at this point, deserves its own place in How It Should Have Ended's villain pub because of how frequently we step up to defend history's most iconic bad guys. Thanos, Scar, Light Yagami, Dr. Doofenshmirtz. But today we're at...
Well, most bad guys, or at least most good bad guys, they can kind of make the viewer sympathize with their point of view. So, I mean, where was I going with that? Anyway, I don't remember where I was going with that, but I was going to say something along the lines of most villains that are good villains, or who play villains well in movies, are made so that the viewer can sympathize with the villain's point of view to an extent. So, you justifying the villains, it's kind of like, it just means that they're a good villain. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that train of thought. I've totally lost it.
Actually tackling one of the biggest, most iconic bad guys of them all, Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. Now, I know I'm not the first one to suggest that the Joker might be the good guy in this movie. In fact, one Reddit theory went viral about this exact topic a few years ago, which then got him hired by us as a researcher. Sup, Zach? Hey. But a lot of time has passed since that original theory, and so, with a very different take on the Joker...
Really? You hired this random guy from Reddit based off of that? That's cool.
Currently now in theaters, our newly combined theorist forces wanted to revisit that post one final time. And at this point, we're both convinced. The world has been watching this movie completely backwards. The Joker is the hero in the Dark...
You better have a lot of evidence to back up this theory, because I love the Joker, but I don't think he's necessarily the hero. I mean, especially in the Dark Knight one, where he's kind of just the main villain. However, he's an awesome villain. I don't really see him as a hero, though, so you better have a lot of proof for this, man.
Dark Knight. He's the hero that Gotham deserves. This isn't just us overthinking things either. It's clearly an intentional decision on the part of the creative team working on this movie. So suit up and prepare to watch your world burn, along with everything you thought you knew about this movie.
Great, Matt's gonna ruin it for me.
By talking a little about Gotham, the primary setting for the Nolan trilogy of Batman movies, starting with Batman Begins and ending with The Dark Knight Rises. Now, these films are as much about Gotham as they are about Bruce Wayne. When the series first begins, we're presented with a Gotham that's completely corrupt, overrun with crime, mafia bosses, and paid-off police officers. In fact, the villain's plot in Batman Begins is all about correcting Gotham by purging it.
Gotham's time has come. The city has become a breeding ground for suffering and injustice.
Being in this basement all day is a breeding ground for suffering too.
It is beyond saving and must be allowed to die.
And if fake Ra's al Ghul here sounds a bit harsh, well, that's because he is. But he's also speaking from past experience.
You attacked Gotham before.
Of course.
In fact, if you re-watch Batman Begins and only focus on the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul's motivation, it's hammered over our heads repeatedly that their only goal is to hit reset on Gotham, a city that they consider to have become so rotten that they can no longer save it.
The forest grows too wild, a purging fire is inevitable and natural. The movement back to harmony will be unstoppable this time.
See, yeah, I love the Batman movies so much. And even this guy's point of view or whatever, I think a lot of people can sympathize with, and that's what makes them great villains.
Or at least it would have been unstoppable if it hadn't been for that meddling bat. Despite Ra's pumping fear gas into the city, Gotham is eventually saved by its greatest hero, Batman. Or is it? You see, movie 2, The Dark Knight, picks up about a year later, and things aren't looking much better for Gotham than when we last left them. Oh sure, Batman is cleaning up petty criminals here and there on a case-by-case basis, but he's been powerless to do anything about the true institutional corruption that pervades the city. The mafia is still running wild, corruption is still everywhere in the police station. Heck, we're even starting to see the negative effects of Batman himself in the city. Despite trying to clean up crime, Batman's vigilante justice has only resulted in one major thing: escalation of the criminals.
Wait, so are you saying that Batman... I'm trying to put together Matt's theory before he actually comes out and just says it. So what I'm kind of getting so far is that Batman, although his motives might be proper, it's not actually working in making the city better. In fact, it's making it worse. So, by that logic, if it's making it worse, the Joker could therefore be making it better, or not as bad, making him more of a hero than Batman. Is that the logic?
The looming threat of Batman being out there threatening to foil any underhanded behavior has forced the criminals to get more extreme in their behaviors. They now use bigger guns and have themselves more protection.
Was that a friggin' Nerf? Was that what?
It was actually something the soon-to-be Commissioner Gordon worried about in the first movie of the trilogy.
What about escalation?
Escalation.
We start carrying semi-automatics, they buy automatics. We start wearing Kevlar, they buy armor-piercing rounds.
And what do we have at the beginning of Dark Knight? A lowly drug dealer traveling heavily armed with multiple guard dogs. Gordon's fears have become fully realized. Escalation is happening, and it's all the result of Batman. Enter the Joker, who describes himself as,
I'm an agent of chaos.
he is a villain in every sense of the word, or at least he is until you actually look at his actions, because by the end of The Dark Knight, Gotham, that city that was so corrupt it had to be destroyed in Batman Begins, yeah, by the end of the second movie, it's cured, it's saved, and it's saved by one man, not Bruce Wayne, but by the Joker. You see, it's easy.
I think I kind of see where Matt's coming, and I think he might be right, and this is ruining the freaking movies for me. Why did I decide this is a good idea to react to? I don't know. Because it makes sense. It makes sense that Batman, although his motives might be right, it's not working, and it's only making things worse. But the Joker and his actions, they seem to be less negatively affecting the city than Batman's. Frig me. So I think Matt might be right here.
To walk away from this movie just reciting the catchphrases.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
Why so serious?
It's time for Gotham to get the hero it needs, not the hero it thinks it deserves. Right.
But if you pay attention to the plot, the Joker's
Sound like freaking Scooby-Doo.
ability to understand human behavior and set up dominoes to fall in just the right way is practically ingenious. When the movie begins, we watch as the Joker robs a bank, not for the money, but to alert the mafia to the fact that their money is being actively tracked.
The problem is our money being tracked by the cops.
This causes their accountant Lau to run away with all the gang money to Hong Kong. Joker uses this to convince the combined gangs of Gotham that Lau's gonna reveal everything to Batman unless the gangs give him half their money to kill the Batman first.
Batman has no jurisdiction. He'll find him and make him squeal.
What do you propose?
We kill the Batman.
Well, what you will.
Half.
When Batman does, in fact, do exactly what the Joker predicted and extradite Lau forcibly, Lau starts singing like a bird.
You should have said singing like 6ix9ine. That would be more accurate to the situation.
And the gangs give in to the Joker's demands. But Joker isn't content with just half the money at this point. He allows himself to get caught by the police in order to kidnap Lau and get himself all of the gang's money. Money which he then promptly burns.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message. Everything burns.
In this series of moves, the Joker has now bankrupted the mafia. The gang...
So yeah, I guess I never thought of it like that, but yeah, I think Joker bankrupts the mafia, all of a sudden puts the mafia out of business. That's a lot more effective than anything Batman ever did. Though I guess he is more of a hero, whether he's trying to be or not.
gangs of Gotham are now broken and penniless, something that no one has been able to accomplish yet. So with that out of the way, the Joker then turns his attention towards the final evil that's plaguing Gotham, that lunatic jumping off of rooftops in a ninja costume that the police refuse to do anything about, Batman. But his plan isn't to kill him. Oh no, killing the Batman would just encourage more vigilantes to take up his mantle, just like the random dudes that we see at the beginning of the movie, who are woefully underprepared for the world of hurt that they're getting themselves into. The only way to end the Batman problem is to get him to quit, to retire, to disappear, and instead have the city recognize a more wholesome, brand-safe, traditional hero. To do this,
advertiser-friendly,
man to a construction site using hostages, while his real
face in the hole
works its magic in the background. You see, by manipulating Gotham's golden boy Harvey Dent into becoming a homicidal monster, Joker leaves Batman with little choice but to kill him. Batman is forced to break his one rule, and in the process, he realizes
he becomes the villain?
That he has to retire. To salvage Harvey's reputation and give Gotham the hero it can believe in, he tells Gordon to blame all of Harvey's murders on himself. And Batman...
yeah, it's true. It's been a while since I've seen the Batman trilogy, so forgive me if I'm not if I don't remember everything. It's been many years now, but I do remember that. Man, I think Matt's correct. Like, it makes sense that the Joker is more or less the hero of Batman, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I was not prepared to think that when going into this movie. You know, I like to go into these theories, and I like to go in and I like to poke holes in Matt's theories, but this is making sense.
And just gives up. That's it. Game over. He retires. For the next 8 years, up until the events of Dark Knight Rises, Batman stays retired. So at the end of Dark Knight, we have ourselves 3 key things. 1, a destabilized mafia that's penniless. 2, most of that mafia and corrupted officials in jail thanks in part to the passing of the Dent Act, which honored the supposed hero of Gotham by denying appeals to criminals found guilty in those corruption cases. And 3, no more lawless vigilantes roaming the streets. That means that for 8 years after the events of the Dark Knight, Gotham was the paradise that Bruce Wayne and Ra's al Ghul never thought would come. The mafia defeated,
and it was all thanks to Joker. My goodness.
Dozens of corrupt cops either discovered or killed, the ineffective alcoholic commissioner replaced by the incorruptible Jim Gordon, and no need for heavily armed vigilantes. And that, dear theorists, was Joker's intent the entire time. He saved a city that everyone thought was beyond saving.
Well, except for the hospital he destroyed, right? I mean, that shows he really doesn't care about human life, which makes it strange that he would care about Gotham City.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
Fans are probably thinking is, no, Joker's an agent of chaos. You played that exact clip earlier in this episode.
You know what I am? I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it.
I'm an agent of chaos.
But can we really believe what the Joker's saying here? Of course not. It's the Joker we're talking about. Just think about the logistics of his plan in the first place. Joker had to think about the actions and reactions of the mafia, the police, and Batman to...
Yeah, it seems like he knew what he was doing. And he seems to be a lot more effective than Batman. Oh my goodness. At this point, I can say Matt's got a really solid case. I don't know why. Like, we're only just a little bit over halfway done the video, and I don't understand why. What the frig? What are we going to cover in the rest of this? I think Matt's right. We could end the video here.
Manipulate them all. For one undeniable example, just think about his final battle against Batman. He sets up a situation where the alleged hostages are actually his goons, and vice versa. But the SWAT team and Batman that's coming in doesn't know that. So Joker is effectively pitting Batman against the SWAT team who's supposedly on his side. He's even prepared for this final showdown using dogs, which were effective against Batman up until recent improvements to his suit, as well as setting up the floor with deployable nets that entangle the Bat. This is clearly not somebody just doing things for the heck of it and seeing what happens. This is someone who makes and flawlessly executes very elaborate, very sophisticated plans. Plans, mind you, that involve specifically eliminating the most dangerous and corrupt people in Gotham.
Was blowing up the hospital a part of that plan? Wait a minute, did they evacuate the hospital before it was destroyed? I don't remember. If they did, maybe the Joker didn't really kill any random people there.
Don't get me wrong, Joker absolutely harms innocents, but think of it like cracking a few eggs to make an omelet. Harvey Dent was willing to let the top mafia dons walk. Batman was only ever thinking about how to solve a single crime or fight a small group of villains at any given moment. Joker...
Yeah, so Batman, I don't think is the villain in this. I don't think Batman's a villain. I just think Batman's actions aren't that effective in solving the overall crime problem, while Joker seems to be a lot more thought out and effective. And I think that's what Matt's getting at.
Meanwhile, was playing the long game, the big picture, trying to fight the corruption underlying all of Gotham's problems. Joker specifically tells Batman about his plan as he dangles off the side of the construction site.
You didn't think I'd risk losing the battle for Gotham's soul in a fistfight with you. You need an ace in the hole.
If Joker really wanted Harvey Dent to kill Gordon's family and become a monster for all of Gotham to see, why would he give Batman a chance to stop him at all? Why not let Batman realize the colossal mistake that he made the next day when he reads it in the papers? That's because the Joker doesn't really want Harvey to become that monster. He just needs Batman to think Harvey will become that monster so that Batman will make the sacrifice that he ultimately does.
I can do those things because I'm not a hero.
Joker, as he...
And this is really bringing, like, to light a whole different side of the movie I never would have saw before. I'm actually really grateful for this video, because if I'd never seen this video here, I would never have thought that Joker would be the hero. But now that it's explained, then I can see where Matt's coming from. It's very clear that the Joker is more or less the hero of this, which he is a maniac, but, you know, you can see that he definitely has done a lot more to fight the crime than what Batman did.
He himself admits is fighting a battle for Gotham's soul, not to corrupt it, but to save it in a way that only he is capable of. Now, I'm not saying that the Joker's a good person, or that anything he's doing is worthy of replication. In fact, I do believe that Joker's rather sick. So completely driven by consequential...
Yeah, I mean, he freaking blows up a hospital, okay? That's not the sign of a mentally stable person.
Philosophy that he completely ignores the pain that he creates along the way. My only argument here is that Joker's intent was not to watch the world burn, as some memorable quotes would have you believe, but instead to cure Gotham of its pervasive corruption. I mean, consider that dinner party scene in the middle of the movie. He takes a party filled with rich socialites hostage and does what? Nothing. I mean, he scares them with his little scar story, and he gets Batman to jump out a window, and that's it. No one else is harmed, no one else is robbed, no one's targeted or killed. He focuses on Batman, and then he leaves. And it does seem like the movie intends for this to be the case the entire time.
How has no one else got onto this? I mean, this is such a crazy plot twist or different way of looking at the movie. Yet it's also so easy to see that it's hard to believe this hasn't been brought to the public's attention earlier.
Alfred, in the middle of the movie, has a story that he used to try... Super famous scene from The Dark Knight, but when you actually stop and look at his story, it doesn't really seem to mean what he thinks it means. To refresh you on the contents of that story, a thief was stealing precious gems from a local government, but rather than selling them, he was just handing them out to the children because, as Alfred put it,
because he thought it was good sport.
The only problem is that Alfred is totally and completely wrong about the thief's intent. Let's listen to Alfred set up this story.
I totally forget this. I totally forget this story.
Time ago, I was in Burma. My friends and I were working for the local government.
Oh, freaking, I gotta bring stuff upstairs. Alright, I'm back.
We're working for the local government. They were trying to buy the loyalty of tribal leaders by bribing them with precious stones.
That's right, these weren't just random shipments of valuables between companies. These stones were specifically being used to bribe tribal leaders into submission. The locals had every reason to try and intercept those caravans to try and protect their own sovereignty. The British controlled Burma from 1824 to 1948, and just like, well, pretty much everywhere the English invaded, the Burmese people weren't particularly keen on this foreign power impressing their values and way of life onto the indigenous people half a world away. Alfred thought that the thief just wanted to watch the world burn because he believed in chaos, but in the end, it's Alfred and his friends that were doing all of the burning.
That bandit in the forest in Burma. Did you catch him?
Yes.
How?
we burn the forest down.
If the thief truly wanted to burn the world down, well, it wouldn't be.
So they were the bad guys the whole time. I didn't even notice that when I watched the movie, or it didn't click in my head.
Hard to set the forest ablaze. As Joker points out himself,
I enjoy dynamite and gunpowder and gasoline. And you know the thing that they have in common? They're cheap.
it's ultimately the men who think they're protecting justice who wind up burning the forest down. And they blame the man who just wants to save their home. That's true of Alfred's story, and it's a direct parallel.
Yeah, it's very true. Matt is 100% correct on this. And I wanted to put up some kind of argument against Matt here, but I don't see any. I think it's very... I never saw this side of The Dark Knight. It's been a long time since I've seen The Dark Knight. And this Dark Knight's probably one of the only movies that I've watched many times. Like, I've seen it like 6 or 7 times. And I've seen the trilogy a bunch of times. But, like, this never, like, clicked in my head of this. You know, that the Joker's actually the good guy, or the one who's trying to help and does help more than Batman.
Parallel with Joker's role in The Dark Knight. You can't see yourself as the villain when you think you're the hero. And that, my friends, is the twist. It also happens to be the cruelest joke of them all. But hey, that's just a theory.
A really good one, too.
A film theory.
Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. This